Me too. I sent it out. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not accommodating you. I think it's now for dismissal. You wish. Yep.
Door swings both ways.
Don't let it hit me. Wait. Judy, I was in Philippi Sunday and somebody from Weston was over there talking about they haven't seen this much visible improvement in Weston for the 20 years that they've lived here. So
Well, that's super
why would
great.
you want to go anywhere?
Well, that's good.
You got a trader, she called back in.
Somebody's calling in. I think it's Urban at 507.
We've got a couple. Down call and say how much.
Did Ray and Sue's library ever come in and look at their pictures?
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because they asked me where they were. I figured, oh, they're coming.
Yep. they
Herb, are
did.
you there? Can you hear us?
He's probably got us muted. You don't want to talk to us.
He's muted. Can you hear us, Herb? You're muted.
Should we go ahead?
We've got a quorum now. I say let's move forward.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kim Harrison Edwards here. Councilwoman Sherry Rogers here. Councilman Randy Bowen. Councilwoman Debbie Gump here. Councilman Herb Curtis.
Here.
City Manager Nate Stanley. City Attorney Brian Bailey.
Here.
City Finance Director Susie Johnston. Assistant Finance Director Joe Solzberg.
Excused.
Chief Mike Posey.
Excused.
Chief Jimmy Settle.
Excused. On vacation. I think Ryan's filling in for him.
Street Commissioner Mike Starrett.
Here.
Building Code Zoning Enforcement Officer Marty Lewis.
Here.
Sanitary Director Dee Evans.
Excused as well.
Okay, we don't have anyone signed in for public comments, so we will move on to, before we move on to anything, Brian, do you need us to change the order of the agenda to accommodate your meeting needs?
No, because honest to gosh, the codification. This the changes I showed you in the packet. It can be discussed. I think this can be pushed back to another day. So it would be a quick. Other than that, I got to leave here at 5:15 or so to get to
Okay,
Chamber of Commerce meeting.
all right then, we'll go ahead with old business, letter A, ordinance 2023-08, creating the Weston Land Reuse Agency.
We have action requested on there, so I just want to put everybody at ease and say we don't really, not looking to pass the ordinance tonight or anything of that nature, but we did have that discussion with Taylor Bennett, and we hadn't had a chance to kind of sit down and powwow about everybody's thoughts with the Land Reuse Agency. So we put on here as action requested, so if we wanted to talk a little bit about it and table it for future discussion or future action, I think that would be wise. But anything's possible when action is requested, so whatever is your pleasure. I think Brian has presented you with a draft of a land use agency. It doesn't necessarily have to be ours. I don't think the conservation part's in there, right? In this version that we have.
I guess the two wings or the two purposes.
Yeah. So in an initial draft that I had given to Brian, I used Charleston's example, and they had kind of a two-pronged land reuse agency. So there's a lot of properties that end up being unbuildable, I'm gonna say, or they're hillsides or something like that, and they place them in their land use agency under a conservation type purpose, which allows them to basically, reseed them, plant them, whatever they're doing, and then not really having a goal for them at that point. They're just gonna conserve it as green space inside their city. They'll own it, so they don't have to worry about letting the crews all down. They got full access to go in there and take care of that if necessary, those kinds of things. I don't think that's reflected in our ordinance currently. It's something I would like to see put in there, and we've had that discussion, but before I turn Brian on to including that or drafting that up, I felt it would probably just be best to sit down and get your all's thoughts on, is there an interest to move forward on the land reuse agency? And then if there's any other things to include in that, and discuss that further. So thoughts, feedback?
Well, I can appreciate the time spent on it to date. I certainly can. Funding is, of course, an issue and a big question. And I think that we're a small city and we can auction and get rid of properties now, which is probably what we should start thinking about doing. So I have no interest in continuing the research and the time spent on this land reuse agency at this time.
Okay.
Debbie, thoughts?
It's looking at me. I've had a bad day. So I'll throw that out there. I still have a lot of questions concerning channels. I guess that's what I want to put, channels and final say. And, you talk about conservation of these areas, then in turn, is it the land reuse agency that will maintain these areas and pay for the upkeep, or is that going to come out of the city's budget to pay for the upkeep? So there's a lot of questions still pending. Some of the logistics of this, I think, in my book.
Agreed.
So budgeting is your concern as well.
I do have some concern about that.
Yeah.
I guess my thoughts are that it would alleviate some of the job duties and responsibilities of the current staff because they have so many. Not only that, I know we don't want to repeat the sins of the fathers with creating something that's totally uncontrollable. And I think that if we did go down this avenue, there are ways to make sure that the council has the final say in the disposition of any asset held by the land reuse agency. One thing I really like is the fact that land reuse agencies don't have to go through that process of a public auction, that they're able to just get people who are interested to make a formal offer, and they can present that to council for agreement by council to let that property go. So those are the perks I see with it. Am I forgetting anything?
I didn't prepare to say any of that. No.
I was talking to the city of Parkersburg, and they don't have a land reuse agency, but they have the Urban Renewal Authority, and it acts exactly the same. It is a land reuse agency, but it's just called something different.
They have the
And-
powers of eminent domain land reuse agency.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And, it works very well for them, and council is very involved. They have council members on that agency.
I guess my question to council is, are we concerned with housing in Weston? And if we are concerned, what is our chip to play? What is our role to play? And I think that needs a definitive answer from our policy side, right? And how we want to approach that topic, because I think we're tearing down these dilapidated homes. That's fine, which I think we've all agreed to. We want to do that. But do we want to play any role in the redevelopment of properties or redevelopment of housing in Weston? And outside of a land reuse agency, I find it difficult to do that outside of we're going to public auction this property, and whoever's the highest bidder will get it, and then do whatever they so choose with it, whether it's a a developable lot or it's a side yard that's on the hillside, you've got to treat those all the same. And they'll be used for whatever. If somebody wants to store their, within the zoning confines, right? They want to store their camper in a lot that'd be perfect for building a house on. That's what they're going to do if they pay, the fee.
I like the fact that you're going to have a county commissioner perhaps, or an assessor, a realtor, a developer. And so you're going to know the inner workings of city and county and actually work together on redeveloping these properties.
Possibly. It depends on who you put on the board.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And as far as funding, my feeling is, and this is just a feeling and I guess a preference at this point, is that our funding source would come from whatever we've allocated traditionally for tearing down homes. We'd put it in that land reuse agency and allow the land reuse agency to be kind of the vehicle for working with our code enforcement and our building official to tear these homes down and let them take possession of them and use those funds to redevelop the properties that way over time.
But it is still hiring additional staff, correct?
That's not my intention. I think the intention with the land use agency is to say, let's use our current staff to work inside that vehicle.
That's not going to alleviate staff issues.
Marty, most specifically, would be the person to work with the land reuse agency.
So it's a group of volunteers.
It'll be a board. Yeah. It's an unpaid board. And they would essentially, they're a quasi-governmental agency, right? Or whatever you want to call it. They're set aside board to make these decisions about these properties and give you the ability that you don't have in state statute right now as council. And they can do, we've got a couple properties right now. We're like, man, the owners, the house may be able to be salvaged. It's sitting there. If the owners don't want anything to do with it, we could transfer that into a land reuse agency, an existing structure, right? And if we had a little bit of funds, we could probably put some gutters on it, fix the wiring or whatever we got to do to get it livable again, and either turn around if the land use agency wants to sell it and try to make a little bit of a profit on it, or turn around and rent it out. If that's something they wanted to do. That would give, there's avenues, I think, for different properties for them to address those things. Or whereas a city, if somebody doesn't want that property, we're going to take it and it's either tear down the structure or public auction it. That's our options.
Well, I think we have an interest in that in the future, but I feel that we are so behind times on our infrastructure that we're just not there yet. I think that's my feeling.
Yeah.
That we're just not there yet. I think we could see that in the future as a way to rebuild, but for now, we still have a lot of streets to pave, and that would be my priority: paving streets and infrastructure, getting things.
What are your constituents' concerns with the land reuse agency?
Actually, their focus is more on infrastructure. Yeah, that's real nice, Sherry, but I want my street paved. That's what it's coming down to. If it costs money, I want my street paved. That's
Hi, Brian.
that's where it is.
My constituents haven't really said anything about it.
Fair enough.
Truthfully, I mean,
Mine communicate a lot.
well, mine, mine is like cemetery.
Yeah,
Mine is.
right.
And I don't want to be insulting to anyone, but I'm gonna say this and hopefully it's not insulting to anyone.
We'll tell you.
I've had a bad day.
I think sometimes constituents and people get kind of short-sighted, right, about the here and the now. And we've got to make investments today to see a return tomorrow. And our struggle as a municipality historically has not been, this is my frank opinion, we've went from 8,900 people down to 3,900 people. And we don't have the same amount of taxpayers. We don't have the same economic base that we used to have. And what do we do to turn that ship around, or at least stabilize it? Because we've declined over the last 3-4 censuses. Our population has continued to go down 5 to 10%. This last one was probably our least. We stabilized a little bit, but we still lost. So my feeling is, and I think when you go to these housing summits and you talk to people about why they aren't living certain such places, they said there's not quality housing there. And so if we're going to make ourselves attractive place to live, how do we get ourselves across that line where we have attractive housing?
I do understand that. I really do. However, we also could make things more beneficial to folks developers who have the means to do this and use their own money. For instance, we have a couple of housing developments one in particular that has thrived and grown outside of the municipality. And then we have the new apartment complex at Bendale, of course, outside of the municipality. So if you take a look at the properties that we have and that we are tearing down, they are indeed side yards to existing other homes.
Yeah.
We really don't have the stretch of land for a development.
Okay.
So that's one issue.
For a large development.
Yes,
Yeah.
for a large, I agree,
Yeah.
for a large development. Outside of and then some codes have changed. Let's face it, this building across the street here, when it was built, Marty, I don't think you can get a building in there now according to. I know, that's exactly, but can we build a building over top of that now? No. The same thing with some of the homes over on High Street. There's times have changed. There's no access, with a car. It's on street parking. Some of the homes out West Second Street, some of the hillsides, you're not going to be able to build there. So it's just the lay of the land, so to speak. It's where we are.
There's some spots like that, but
Yeah.
we went down today, we measured it, we could get a 30 house with a driveway in there on West Second Street.
Mhm.
And I think that's a developable spot, right? So what do we do with that property?
My thoughts were on the West Second Street property that the person who owns a house beside of it probably would want it, wouldn't they?
Possibly, but,
It's another side yard for someone.
right. And we're reducing our tax base every time we do.
I
that,
understand
right?
that. We weren't getting anything out of those houses anyways.
We're never, if they're side yard, we're never going to.
Exactly, but that's just the lay of the land. I don't see how that piece of property is going to be attractive to a buyer.
Okay.
And what buyers need. It's between the hill and very busy street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bonner.
Herb, you listening?
Yep, I'm still here.
Do you have any thoughts on the land agency?
I just always had the stance, in my opinion, that I don't think the city's in a position or ever has been to be in the real estate business as far as housing and real estate. And the quicker we can get rid of property after we clean it up with grant money, hopefully most of the time it's grant money that we're using instead of city dollars that we get rid of, it's someone that can either develop or have the land to take care of for future use or whatever it may be. And they still have to go by code and ordinance and zoning and all. So we have everything in place to where do sell it off to keep a continuous revenue coming in to tear down more houses, outside the grant money is how I look at it.
I don't think you're going to get much revenue from a side yard public auction.
She has a question back
Can
there.
I have a comment?
It's up to the council.
Not normally at this
Okay.
time, but we'll give you a few minutes.
Okay, well, all I wanted to say is kind of both points from my perspective and all of the work that I've been doing privately is it ideal to develop houses in the city of Weston right now? No, not really. It's not the most appealing thing. We want to get the houses down, but we really want to build a new house in this spot. Probably not ideally. However, there is the existing infrastructure in city limits with the sewer and water lines that we don't see outside of town for the large developments. So if there's a place to build a house within city limits, not only increasing the tax base, but the utilities are already on site, we can find some of these vacant lots and try to put something constructive in there. So it doesn't have to be a single family home. It can be small apartment units, but at least making the land readily available to develop is appealing to developers, I believe. Increasing the tax base to Nate's point, I think is incredibly important. So there are constructive things you can build on these lots. So I agree with it.
Thank you. I just see us charging the city manager, the city attorney, and the building code zoning enforcement with spending the bulk of their time, as they have been, on these issues, when it could be handled by a group of volunteers with someone in charge working with the building inspector to take care of those things. That's just my opinion.
I think we're gonna be involved no matter what we do, to be frank about it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna hit the point one more time. I think we've got a shrinking pie. Nobody wants to raise rates. Nobody wants to see more people have to pay for more anything. But the less payers we have into the system, the more rates are gonna have to go up. And if we don't stem the tide, at some point, and get more people in here, more of a tax base, more municipal payers, our pie continues to shrink. Our population continues to shrink. And I think we're gonna be left with a very sparsely low density city, which maybe is nice for people who live here, but they're gonna have to pay more fees or have less services to live here. Those are the options they're gonna have.
I just see what trying to get a group of volunteers is like.
Yeah.
We're on a lot of boards and committees now.
Sure.
And it's very hard to get a quorum sometimes with some of these boards and committees. And that's what you run into with volunteers and boards and committees. And they tend not to move very quickly.
Can I speak a little bit more about how, I guess, if we were to go down this road, how I think it would work initially? I'd love to get to the point where this is Nate Stansbury speaking, and the board and council would have their say in it. But I think if we could have a self-sustaining housing agency that had some properties that they could get some revenue with and do some things, that'd be great. We're not going to have that day one. My feeling is we have a couple of developable properties right now. There are some pots of money out there that we could approach that are grants through the Federal Home Savings Bank to create affordable housing inside of Weston. The first one was for $150,000 for one unit. So we could build a 1-unit house for $150,000. We'd have those grant funds available to us if we could be awarded that grant. We could try to build a house that way and sell it. And my thought is can we partner with a developer, the land use agency, can they partner with the developer to say, we have this lot, we'd like for you to come in here and build a property. We'll give you access to it, see if they can front most, if not all, the financing for building that house. And then once the home is sold, we get a lot fee or something to that degree. And so we have some return on basically the public's investment to get this property torn down and reestablished. And from that, we would have the victory or benefit of having a home that's going to increase the property tax value for that lot and also have a sewer payer and a municipal fee payer at that point.
And we also hoped too, with those revenues that are building up, that we could do further demolitions.
Yeah, I think that's we try to operate that out of the land use agency going forward, and then maybe that becomes part of your metric where when you're tearing down these structures, you're saying, we've got this house up on the hill, we've got this house here that's a developable property. Let's try to target that one and get that one back into the tax rolls. That'd be my feeling and preference on it. To do nothing, I think and I'm not trying to be mean about it or say
Right.
I think we're just seeding the field and housing will not improve in the capacity. The market has had the market, right? The market hasn't done anything at this point. And we have to decide whether this is an investment we want to make. I think I'm hearing no, and I'm fine with that.
Right.
But
Not at this time. That is my thoughts.
Can I say something? As me being a contractor over the many years, and Nate and Marty was out there talking about possibly a 30 by 30 out there, and maybe partner up with a contractor. I think from what I've seen over the years, we're probably only gonna be able to find maybe one, maybe two contractors in this town that could possibly fund something like that. I know myself, when I built homes, that, man, to get your money and to get it done, there's too much of a financial burden on a contract, okay? And I'm just saying that as me being a contractor, I've built many homes, and well, that last little bit to get the house done is pretty hard to finance it, or even take care of your family as making a living as a contractor. That's the only thing I want to say about that. Because contractors are pretty tough. Try to get money for that.
They're very difficult to hire. I mean, I think every homeowner here has experienced that, trying to get a contractor to work at the house, and very lengthy time wait.
If I'm negotiating with you here a little bit, Sherry. If we said we don't want any city funds, could we still have a land reuse agency?
I would like to see our energy focused in another direction at this time.
So it's not the money. It's our priority.
That's part of it.
Okay,
Money.
okay. So I'll ask you the same question.
Money.
If we don't have any city funds going towards it, can we?
I wonder something too, could we, I think, could you do a trial year basis on this? Is that something, I mean, or could we table it and then we see funds? You know what I'm saying, where we at a better place for us to move forward with this? Because I think annexation is also a big key
That's
to
what I'm
moving
saying.
forward with this as well.
We're not there yet. Yeah, for this. We're not there yet. I'm not
And
saying. we won't be.
and generating revenue for things like this too.
And this goes for every grant program, right? And this is my fear, is that we continue, these are multi-year processes, right? To get the funding, find a contractor, you're not. And so my time here and everybody's time will be short. And so just to not start now, I think puts us behind again in my feeling. And so I don't know when the time will be better. And then we have these properties that we've inherited. Are we going to sit on them until we get to the time where we feel they're right? Are we going to sell them and then try to acquire them later on? Those are the things that, in my mind, really quickly rise to the top questions. If money is not an issue, I mean, all we're committing to the cause is our time as staff. And I think the staff is coming to you saying, we need a land reuse agency to deal with these properties properly. And this is how we'd like to handle it. So if we could get a land reuse agency and say, can we have a year or two to operate a land reuse agency without city funds and see if we can develop a program? What is the harm in that?
You still hear me, Nate?
Yes.
I think one of my biggest fears with this is we're getting more people involved and more committees or agency, whatever you want to call it, involved. It seems like it's a long process, drawn out process to get a lot of things done now, as it is with just the council and the regular staff and all involved. It's a lengthy process to me. In my mind, it seems, to get a lot of these things done that we've been doing, including tearing down these houses. So we're going to add in more people, another committee or agency, more thoughts, more meetings. I don't know. It seems like it's going to just drag out the process a little further to get things done, in my mind.
Progress takes time. I mean, it's work.
Can we agree to disagree and move on
Fine.
for the sake of
Whatever you
the
guys want.
Well,
we have a lengthy.
you
So
need
do
Up to the
we-
mayor. Let the mayor.
So do we want to table it?
At this point in time, you can table it indefinitely. You can table it to a future time. It's certainly up to council.
But let me be clear, if we're not gonna do this, I'm not going to any more housing summits. I'm not participating in those conversations because I think that's the directive from council at this point, right?
I think that that would be fair.
Okay. So when I'm invited, I'll say, no, I'm not attending. Our council's decided it's not worth my time. I'll be more diplomatic about it than that.
Whatever you would like to say, but
Yeah.
Herb, go ahead.
That's fine. If that's how he feels, that's fine. Just move on. We've heard enough, so just move on.
okay, I'll move to table this indefinitely.
Is there a second? Is there a second
second.
to table? Okay,
Yep.
you have a
I'll second.
motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to request Councilman Curtis come see me when he gets back in town. That's it.
I think it's a
Let's
death
move on.
knell.
I'd like for him to
Move on.
come speak to me personally.
We will,
Yeah,
and
it's a request.
I'll dictate that we move on. We have a motion and a second, and we have no discussion. We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen. Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item, codification update, and I think Brian asked us to table that. So,
I'll move to table that item.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to table the codification discussion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, awarding a bid for roof grant demolition.
Brian's given you a recommendation to delay the award on 3 properties. Well, 4 it looks like. My recommendation is a 4, and the award is 375 lot 58 on George and 208 Bennett Avenue at this point in time.
Who are the owners of those homes? No?
Marty, can you answer that question?
375 West Second is the owner's deceased, no heirs. Lot 58 on George Street is that one of the Rock Wilson companies. And he's supposed to be in the process of giving us that. The 208 Bennett is a company called CI Development.
And who owns that?
The last guy I spoke with is out of Vienna, and his name was John. Source of the North. I've got it on my desk.
Who did you say owns 232?
232 is a guy named Andy Morrison. He's in the process of giving us that company.
But is the paperwork done?
Not yet. Brian's working on
I think that's what he said, that he wanted us to delay.
Yeah.
I have it right here.
it. Or award it and delay it long enough to start the demo until we finalize the paperwork.
Well, you see,
It says don't award tonight.
yes, that's what it says.
No, on 232, says optional.
My recommendation was award 1, 2, and 3 at the top. And I think that's what you should be considering.
Award tonight, I see that.
Lot 58 is practically down.
Yeah.
Been down.
Yeah, for a number of years,
Yeah.
apparently.
So we own all 3 of these, the first 3.
No, we do not.
We have all the paperwork's ready on these 3 though.
We've given them proper notice, right, Marty?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to award the bid for roof grant demolition for 375 West Second, lot 58 George and 208 Bennett Avenue.
Wait a second, we have the bids here, right? When we award the bid, we have to award it to a contractor, right?
Correct. I would do that at the price.
Yeah,
Good.
You have this one.
I think that's.
I have George Street.
Do you have this one? You should have.
I saw that.
Marty went ahead while we were doing it and just combined it together so we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, I
It'd be
did.
easier for you.
Thank
If
you.
you don't have one, take mine. I don't need it.
I do have it. I know I
I
have
think I
it.
have it. So
My one that I looked at at home.
This looks like my desk right
You should see mine.
Here, I got it.
Here somewhere. I looked at it this weekend.
You find yours, Kim?
Yeah.
Now, this Astor oil field, isn't that who we awarded were you happy with
Yeah,
them?
I think they did.
And they're good to work with?
Yep, and the guy from DEP showed up today and spent almost the entire day out there. He was happy with everything they did.
Well, that means a lot.
So we are doing 58.
So, oh, where's my paper bag? There it is. 375 Second Street. And George. It looks like they came in as low bidder.
Yeah, I don't have-
Astor Oil, here.
They were the low on some of them, and then Spruce Creek Enterprises was the low on the other ones.
Do you want to just award everything to Astor Oil?
There's no bid. They put no bid on 208.
Okay,
Yeah, 208 Spruce Creek was the low bid.
Yeah, there's no bid on that one.
okay. Spruce Creek.
Astor's a low on 375 and lot 58.
Yeah.
Spruce Creek is the low on 208 Bennett.
I wonder why they didn't bid on that. Because usually when they come into an area, it's more cost effective for them to be in the same area. Okay, I will move to award 375 West Second Street to Astor Oil.
For the amount of,
Oh, Barney, give me.
$6,900.
$6,900. And lot 58 George Street to Astor Oil for
49.
and 208 Bennett to Spruce Creek for
8750.
$87.50.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers,
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen, Councilwoman Debbie Gump,
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, authorize the Weston Fire Department permission to use city lot for fireworks.
For, I think, State Fire Marshal, we have to have a letter to say that we've authorized them to use our property to sell fireworks. I'm asking council to grant me permission to be the authorized signature on a letter to say, yes, we've authorized them to use our city lot.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, approval of Chris Bailey to serve the municipal fee board for a term until July 1, 2023. It's not very long.
He's probably finishing a term.
Yeah, and there's some question, that's why Brian's at the Chamber of Commerce meeting tonight, left early, was they're questioning whether they want to be involved in this board going forward as a chamber, and we'll see if Brian can talk him into continue to participate. But they had agreed via Chris to let him serve until July 1. Then some of these things will be reappointed and stuff like that. So
Okay.
finish out, I think, Ray's term or something to that degree. So I think we've got some hearings we'd like to carry out here very soon. And so I'd like to put him on the board and get that at least started.
I'll move to approve Chris Bailey.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, award of AmeriCorps planning grant.
I'd made mention to you all that Joe Solberg and myself had worked together on putting together a proposal to AmeriCorps to start like a Weston program is what we're deeming it. And essentially what we've done is put an application in to have a planning year, which they would mostly fund for us. We would have, I think, a $8,000 contribution.
I see that.
That would allow us to hire someone to spend a year planning out a program. And what our intentions were with the program is to support our local museums, the school system with maybe some after-school programming and outdoor activities, whether it's sport leagues or whatever the planning person decides is needed within our context. My feeling was that this is an opportunity for us to try to shoehorn someone in to get the ball rolling on those types of activities as far as our Parks and Recs board is concerned, and allow us to provide some support and have some younger blood into the city. These American people come in, they hopefully rent inside Weston and will live here in Weston for a year and be able to participate in events and hopefully find a significant other to decide to live here the rest of their life if everything goes according to plan. But
Have six kids.
yeah, right. Athletic kid, yeah, 6'6", 250 pounds, those types.
I have a
So,
question about
sure.
this, Nate. Currently, our Parks and Rec board just lost 2 members on that.
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard to get a quorum there. And also, sometimes I feel you're doing all of the work for the Parks and Rec.
Don't
Like
disagree.
skating rink,
Yep.
for instance, down there every evening. And the carp festival, how's that going for you? You're working pretty hard.
We've got a
on
good
that.
little committee this time, but
You
yes,
do,
but I'm
yes, you
working.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. But, and then of course, the 4th of July thing that we
Yeah.
do, you're also helping with that. My question to you is, would this help this person with working on those things as well? To
That's-
take some of that off of your plate.
The hope is yes. There's some, a lot of this funding is going to be towards the grant. But I think there's a tacit understanding with the grantors that this person will be working on other things as well. But their time has to be shown to be spent majority on the grant. And so what we're hoping to do is part of these planning activities to kind of be able to shoehorn ourselves into this program was allow this person to do those activities. It's kind of a test run for the grant planning process to say, hey, yeah, there is a following here that we can write into the program and say, we need people to help with this types of programming. And if there are people who attend those things and have some metrics for it, that kind of stuff.
So where is the information for the grant? Can we see that, or is this time sensitive? Do you have a link
That's
that we
the
can
only
look
thing,
up?
that's the only thing that he gave.
Yeah, I think there's some information we can provide. We are under the gun time wise, but I think if I remember correctly, we could table it to the June meeting if you would like further information. We wanted to kind of get an answer tonight. At least if it was a resounding no, then we would be able to say no and move on with our lives, right?
Is it something you want to do then?
I think so. I think it gives us. We talk about why would you want to live in Weston? And I think those are the kind of questions we're trying to answer as a staff. And my vision for governing is not just rudimentary services. I think that's a big aspect, but I think we've got to have quality of life features that make people want to be here and stay here and raise a family here or retire here or whatever. And so we don't really have that side of our government right now. And I would see this as our first. This is not to, for Weston to start its own little basketball association or anything like that.
Right.
Trying to fill in the gaps of, we know there's not really a whole lot of after school programming right now. In our preliminary conversations, this is just us forecasting what this person may plan out, right? And what we would kind of give them some objectives. We see we would target Peterson Central since they're annexed into our city, and the middle school, 2 places for after school programming that we would target first. And maybe only, depending on how we tact we want to take. But then, adult sports leagues and things that we don't really have any kind of programming for currently, and try to build some relationships there.
But there would also be a grant writer.
Well, I think this position that we would have, they would do some of that work, and their main grant writing for this year will be for the AmeriCorps grant that would be granted to us for the positions. Yeah.
So is this a gradual decrease? Because I'm looking at this, it looks like a pretty good deal for $8,000.
Well, it's the thing is that this is only a one position. This is only one
Okay.
funded. So this person would have a 1-year job to try to figure out, how can I make a program where we bring AmeriCorps?
Is this
people?
renewable?
No, it's a 1 year.
Oh,
You're
it's only-
planning
okay.
for the program. So that person would kind of be responsible for saying, hey, how many sports leagues do we need to have? How many AmeriCorps volunteers do we need to have to make this work? yeah, where we can bring in enough fees to pay for a position or whatever.
And that's the overarching goal of the grant, is to spend that year in developing the city of Weston's own AmeriCorps program.
Mm.
And we all talk about a shortage of a volunteer base.
Sure.
So these people would actually be hired, and the hope is, or the goal of the program is to hire between 10 and 15 people who would be full-time equivalents. You could also have part-time people working underneath that grant as well. They could do work for the city.
Mhm.
They could also do work for other organizations like the Mountaineer Military Museum, Hackers Creek Pioneer Descendants.
Got a few thoughts, but I haven't broached it completely with them yet.
And I did ask about the in-kind or the match. It's a hard match, I understand from Joe, for this
I think
year
so.
of $8,000. But after that, it would be an in-kind match, he said, of salaries to manage that person, or to manage those 10 to 15 people through the city.
And it's, I mean, it's well within our right to get to the end of this and say, we've got a report from our person who's worked for the entire year and this isn't feasible. We're not moving forward.
Yes, and he
We're not gonna
said
be out anything for that.
15% of the agencies who have this grant do just that.
Yeah.
But the others continue on and have their own programs.
Isn't Jacob an AmeriCorps?
Yeah.
Volunteer?
And he's
Jacob
through,
was.
he's through Preservation Alliance. So Preservation Alliance has created their own program.
Right,
They're supplying these AmeriCorps volunteers out to different historic landmarks commissions.
right.
And we pay them a fee, and that's how they help pay for their staff member who manages that program. And so it's something we could do, like if the Glass Museum needed a volunteer, we could provide them a full-time equivalent person for $3,000 or whatever our
Yes.
match is, and we could supply that person.
He mentioned about Fairmont's program that was very successful, and they actually get a stipend from the school system for operating the AmeriCorps program. So that possibly could be something to work.
That's, yeah, it's something that technically part could be built into the levy, right? If it was successful, you can have a program over the school system saying, hey, we're gonna carve
But you
out.
need to get that in there now.
Right. Come soon. Yep. If you guys want some more information, we can bring you some more information. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, just wanted to get it out there and make sure we weren't.
I
we're
think the
support of
concept,
it.
I think the concept of this is fantastic.
I do too.
And I think
I don't
partnering with schools is even better, because I know right now we're having a hard time. I call it the COVID kids,
Mhm.
getting them involved in anything, because they just don't know what's out there because they were. And I think getting somebody in there, getting them involved and establishing programs is a great way forward. And if you get the kids involved, you get parents involved.
Agreed.
I admire Joe's ambition for applying for this. I know he was really excited about it, and I think it would be a good win for Weston and Lewis County.
Well, I think it sounds to me like it's a pretty good value for $8,600.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work, it doesn't
There's no
work.
commitment.
Right. I'll move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved to approve and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, DOH agreements for possible rehabilitation of 5 city bridges.
Well,
And this right before the DOH meeting Thursday.
What time is that?
Yeah.
That's what we were trying to.
10
10, I think.
I'll be there.
Me too.
I've mentioned to you all before, my reading of the agreements is that they're closely the same as,
100%.
it's 100%. And I don't want to smack a gift horse in the mouth, but I do think, we're kind of in that same situation with Polk Creek as far as the agreement and the teeth that we would have to enforce those things.
Right.
And so, I wanted to bring them. You guys got a copy of them, right? Were you able to download and see the agreements and stuff like that? You saw which bridges?
Pages.
I don't have any further information on it than what I tried to call Chad today, and I've probably waited too long to try to get a hold of him, honestly. My feeling is let's talk to him on Thursday and see if we have any wiggle room on that agreement to maybe set a few different terms in there. And really what I'd like to see us be able to do is have some kind of approval or buy-in with design elements. before it gets approved.
That's my only one. I think they need to be aesthetically
Yes.
to the area, built to the area,
Mhm.
not just your.
Well, and I think we need to be clear if we've got to put in sidewalk afterwards, we need to know that, and that needs to be
So we
clearly
can
shown.
budget for it.
Yeah, it needs to be clearly
Yeah,
shown.
but I
in the plan.
definitely, we need to work together and, I mean, we're not gonna get an opportunity like this to get those bridges
Agreed.
replaced at full cost. So,
Okay.
there's concessions we'll have to make, I think, as well.
And so, I mean, the cover letter came with it, right? Didn't I scan that in for you guys where they introduce every bridge? Did it not come with that? Maybe not. All right, I'm just gonna read, each one had a cover letter. I thought I'd seen, but I apologize if I didn't. I'm gonna read it just aloud real quick to you. It says, please review the agreement carefully and if acceptable, have each original signed by the appropriate representative city, then return each signed original with appropriate cover letter to the state person. Documents then will be fully executed by West Virginia DOT and Department of Highways. The date on the page one of the documents we entered by the Department of Highways, do not enter that. The work by DOH is partners with enormous tasks, perform these much needed projects within our communities, and as such, this work will begin as soon as practical. A design study will be performed to determine the most cost-effective solutions for the bridge, resulting in an appropriate remedy. Please note that funding is limited, and if those funds become exhausted prior to work on 4th Street Arch Bridge, the Department of Highways may not be able to fulfill this agreement. That was every bridge has that same statement about it. If the city of Weston has any special considerations or concerns with 4th Street Arch Bridge improvement, please include those in the cover letter when returning your signed agreement. And so, way forward, there's two ways forward. I think either we fight the dickens on the agreement, or we sign the agreement and put in our cover letter our concerns. And I'm fine with whatever approach we want to take. I do think if we sign the agreement, we're going to agree to it, and they're not going to change anything, and then we're going to hopefully.
Well, we do not want bear.
Well,
We don't want bear.
and I'll take up for Bear for a second that I feel like the agreement really left a lot to be desired from it. To me, ultimately, Weston controls and owns these bridges. And I know we're getting something for nothing, but we pay federal tax dollars just like everybody else does. And so to me, we should have some kind of say in what our bridge looks like. And our current agreement does not allow us to dictate that in any form or fashion. It's essentially sign the bridge over to the state, they design it, they build it, and there you go.
That was fantastic. Sun Bridge.
Timeline on this again?
There hasn't been any kind of indication of time on it, but I'd say sooner than later. And like I said, we can talk to them on Thursday a little bit more about it and express some of our reservations, hopefully off to the side, and see what they recommend us do and come back to you if you'd like, but
And then have an ordered agenda.
we can do that. Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that we have all the council's concerns noted in
Yeah.
your recommendation.
Our cover letter. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Herb?
Well, I'll just say it's not nice. If it is, I think we still should work with them, being we never got you out to them.
I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
you kind of broke up there. Can you say it again?
I said, that sounds good to me. I just hope we still agree and work with them, since we're being presented this opportunity. And I mean, it is on our fault that we didn't reach out in time if it is too late. So I hope we will still work with them.
I think we're on time still. We just,
And it sounds like all on the same
Yeah.
page.
okay. So June 1st, we'll bring the agreements. Is that okay? And if you guys have any kind of particular comments about individual bridges, I say bring those to me and I'll try to have a cover letter kind of drafted that we
Well, I
can approve
think
as well.
collectively, we're concerned about the aesthetics and
Yeah.
and lighting and elevations and connections to sidewalk.
Right.
So I don't see anything else we can add to it.
Yeah.
ADA compliance
Yes.
sidewalks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Agreed.
that was unbelievable.
But it
Yes,
looks good.
Isn't it good?
it does, it does. Thank you.
Okay, so
Um,
Do we just want to table that? Is that what we want?
Yeah.
Is that what you're requesting?
Sure.
All right.
Table
Until the
until
June meeting.
The June regular session. Yep.
I move to table the DOH agreement for possible bridge rehabilitations till the June regular session.
I'll second.
it's been moved in second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, request to award audit service RFP.
I think our audit committee met yesterday, or at least 3 of the 4 members of the audit committee met yesterday, which is fine. And
Who did not show?
the city manager, not
Oh,
present.
I see.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Well, I apologize. I don't know where I was at. I was somewhere, just not there. I think BHM came out the lowest, right? And there were only 2 submittals, right, for RE and BHM. So my recommendation, I think, as with the committee, is that we've had good success with BHM. should
We have
continue.
had, and you know, something, staff knows what to expect from
Great.
BHM. And I think it's easier on everyone. Yes,
And I think it's for 3 years, right? Isn't that what we put in
I
the
think so.
audit? Okay. So Herb, to answer your question, I think that gets us caught up if we do those 3 years.
You guys had coming in.
Mhm. It's almost ready.
Total cost. So we're gonna do the total cost right now. Or
Yeah, I think so.
I probably do need to recuse myself.
out the
I
door,
don't
Sherry.
think so.
I was on the committee.
It's okay. Benefiting personally.
Yeah,
You're
I'm thinking
good.
fine.
Okay,
You can thank you.
okay. Judy was kicking me.
It's because you
Oh.
don't have.
Okay, are we ready
Did we
to make a
Oh,
motion
here,
to
I'll put it
approve?
down. I move to recommend BHM CPA Group at a cost of $36,800 to do the next 3-year audits from 2021 to 2023.
Would Herb like to second that motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, very good. It's been moved and second. Discussion. Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes,
Councilman Randy Bowen, Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yeah.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Next, use of city property for yard sales over Memorial Day weekend.
did they decide where they wanted to go? Is it whole property or out here at the municipal?
The parking lot, or they would like to either, or they really want Holt, but
They do.
could you, whatever you decide,
I don't
they will use.
have a problem with either one. Holt's gonna get people downtown. And in the Glass Museum.
You suggested Holt. And
I
I
did.
told her she was okay with it.
Who is the group?
Terry somebody, I can't remember her last name.
One question I guess I do have, and it's recent development, is insurance. Do we have to? Whether when they do it during
You
Memorial?
need
Day?
to add the list, that property as a listed insured
Yeah. But we should have done that though with
for the ice rink.
Yeah. I know we did it for that, but I don't know if it was for a year or what it was for. I have to check and see. But I'm fine either way, whatever, wherever you guys prefer to put them, we'll try to get the insurance stuff figured out. And I think there's, talking to Joe about it, we've had some conversations with the insurance company the last couple of weeks. When we have a group like this, our premium does go up a little bit, you know, and I think it's more along the lines of $25 to $50 or something like that.
Okay.
To allow these groups to use our property. And that's something we can do or eat or whatever we prefer to do. And I don't have a preference on, but I just want you guys to be clear that if we do the split by the, and make sure they're in insurance covered property, that there will be some cost to our premium. I think it's minimal, but I don't think it's cost free.
Sure.
Just a quick question. Do we have like the vendor sign the liability waiver or anything for that too?
Well, that's a good question. Probably something in consultation of our insurance we need to ask and see. We've never went down this road, I don't think.
We have waivers from the ice rink.
Yeah. For skating.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's something, I mean, it's new, it's kind of virgin territory for me. I haven't got that far in my tenure to get down this far in the weeds with it, but I think it's something we do need to consider and say, pending whatever insurance requirements we may deliver, that will allow them to do it or something else. And we'll try to get that ironed out between now and the
Okay.
sale time.
Okay. I'd like to see that.
Would you like to make a
used.
motion?
Yes, I'll move to approve the request for yard sales over Memorial Day weekend on city property. Do you want me to just leave it up to the property of their choice?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't care either way.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Can I have one question real quick?
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
Discussion. They're responsible. for cleaning up. Hey, after themselves, right? That's a criteria. They must leave it as
Should be,
was found.
yeah.
Okay.
I can tell her when she calls me back.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, use of ARPA funding for fencing for 210 North River, 205 Water, West Second Bridge, Route 19 South, The Narrows, Willow Street, 13 Main Avenue,
19 Narrows. 10 Narrows. Yes, I still remember. It's okay.
I think so. Did we ever get a confirmation on the Narrows link?
Yeah, I think you're right, but.
You're right.
Are we gonna put it there at the head of
Okay.
Center Avenue across from Arnold Cemetery? There's
Yeah,
that
that's,
rusted fence,
is that 13 Main?
I was wondering about
Main,
13.
it's
What is
center.
13 Main?
13.
The north, oh, well, we'll just go through the top of 19 is an errors right up here,
Yeah.
okay? That's all the way from the water company, all the way up to Mrs. Taylor's, was Mrs. Taylor's. But anyway, 210 North River is what we just put down over here.
Right.
Okay,
And 13 Main is by the old laundromat right there, coming down to Chris Manor.
To Chris Manor. That's what I
Oh,
was
that's
talking
it.
about.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
roof.
like past.
I'm so surprised somebody hasn't driven onto that roof or
We're fencing that roof
Lots.
closed, aren't we? In this?
It's got a cable across it, okay?
I know.
Is it a road cut? Yeah. Why wouldn't we fence it off? We have
There's a
to,
building underneath there.
Mhm.
And it's got a gravel roof on it.
Mhm.
And it belongs to, no, it belongs to a citizen here in town.
but I mean, do we have to give him access from the road to his roof?
Oh, what we're asking is, are we putting that fencing through there?
I assume we were putting the fencing into where we had there before, that's the way I figured it.
Okay,
Which-
224 feet.
Yeah, which leaves that open, right?
does that leave the roof?
I would
open?
say probably before we up and just close that off, if it's more than the 224 feet. I only measured what was there, okay?
Yeah.
If we decide to close that off on that roof, per se, parking lot or whatever, then we probably ought to speak with the landowner and see what he's,
That's not a parking lot, is it?
there's been people park on before.
But there's no railing.
That's why I'm confused by what's going on there too. I know there's a cable. You're not telling a lie, Mark.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
that one right there, well, we'll go on through here and we'll discuss this again.
Okay,
Then the Willow Street was 103 feet, and that's going from Willow Street up to the park. Not to the park, but just the side.
Right.
Okay? And then the other one is 205 Water Street. That's the end of the
Oh,
bridge. where we
Just
have
Time
state-
Bistro.
State roads blocking.
oh, yeah.
And I don't know, what was your old bottom figure? Because mine changed since I. had it.
27.9.
I went to 29.14, 29.
29.
And what that is, if we added 80 more feet to the Narrows.
Okay. What we can do is award up to a certain amount. Because the cost of things are gonna change.
My number's 50,000. That's what I'm asking for. Cause I think we gotta do double the Narrows and we're having a measuring discrepancy. So tomorrow we're gonna, our tape measures out and measure. And so my preference is for the Narrows is to go from the water plant property where that fence ends currently all the way to the end and have that be uniform fence. Some that's
I
Department
agree.
of Highway stuff.
Right.
It's different looking. And so
Right.
that I think gets 50, we can do it. I think.
Okay,
What's your thoughts, Debbie?
My thoughts, if we'd applied for the transportation alternative grant, we may have gotten some of this done through that grant. So just looking at the future on that aspect. And not that I think we need railing, I'm not against it at all, but at our last meeting, we were told not to spend ARPA money. Now you're asking for ARPA money. I mean, because we wanted to pave more streets. I'm thinking 50,000, that's some streets. You know, I'm about paving.
It's a philosophical thing.
Okay.
I think if you want to have money to do nice things, this is your one chance to do it.
And I think we express that over streets too. That's our one.
And if paving the streets is the nice things you want to have, then spend all your ARPA money on paving
And
the streets.
I believe the vote was we should do it, right?
We voted for that amount. I don't think we extended any more than what was requested that night, right?
on what?
The street.
You did all instead of the lesser amount, correct?
No, he was supposed to get bids to see how much.
We're gonna bid the
it was.
entire project
Yeah.
and see.
He's gonna
Okay.
bid, but we didn't allocate any ARPA money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not against
think
this. but
you
I'm
gotta
just
have
wanting to see my piece on that.
Herb,
We gotta have the railing. I'm for the paving too, but you can't concentrate 110% on it. We gotta have the railing so people don't fall off the sidewalk where 210 North River went down.
I said I was for the railing. I just wanted to make my point. And again, I've had a bad day. You know how many seniors are busting their butt trying to get past this last few days?
Well, and we don't have to do this.
I don't disagree with you at all about applying for grants in the future to do those things, but honestly, we're really limited on people to apply. And if we had volunteers stepping up to help us, oh, the things we could do.
Right.
And I see those come through all the time. And I wish to God I had 5 minutes more. But hopefully we'll get to a point where we do.
Well, I know, we already talked about it.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it, but I'm just saying,
I thought that, isn't it open right now?
it may be open now. I haven't checked it, but
There's like 3 or 4 pots of money through them that are.
Open and closed.
Yeah.
Okay, you want a motion?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'll move to approve up to $50,000 for the fencing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen. Councilwoman Debbie Gump. Councilman Herb. Curtis.
Yes.
Sure.
Sorry, Debbie.
Okay, motion carries. Next, approval of emergency absentee ballot commissioners.
Don't feel like you have to.
Judy, why don't you explain that one? What's going on there?
When we get to closer to the voting and the people that doesn't send in an absentee voting in, let's say they have an emergency, they have to go to the hospital, they have to have surgery or whatever, Marty and I can take out the ballot to them and bring the ballot back sealed. And we have to have commissioners to do that. Okay. But don't feel that you have to put me on there.
I move to approve the emergency absentee ballot commissioners of City Clerk Judy Piercy and Building Code Zoning Enforcement Officer Marty Lewis.
Okay,
I'll second.
it's been moved and second. Any discussion? I didn't hear any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I made like signatures. in
Okay,
here.
next, mowing of city lots, parks and cemeteries.
Marty, give us the latest update there and
All those contractors, all 3 of them, said that they could accommodate us if we decided we wanted to go weekly mowing until the dry spell hits. It always hits in July, August.
It does.
But the hardest one's gonna be the guys doing the cemeteries, because it's one minute show until the sun gets out of school. So they all said they could accommodate it.
The cemetery really got out of control. Like he hadn't mowed parts of it this year.
You come up there Friday.
Yeah, oh, I know, I watched. I kept an eye on it. Yeah.
We Marty and I have had the discussion. We've got to put more pressure on them to fulfill their contractual obligations and the schedule. So, we said 2 weeks, they should have been there every 2 weeks and we hadn't been there yet.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that they show up on time and we'll continue to push them in that direction. We hadn't paid them yet, so they were paid for what hadn't been done. But they also had invoices yet because they hadn't been there, right?
Right.
They haven't done the work. So I think we can do that. My feeling is authorize us to go weekly. And at this point, I think our budget probably won't hold, but just from where we're hitting it in the year, we've got to do a final budget revision for June. Let's just move forward and we'll see where we end up with June. And if we need to reorder the budget then with our final budget revision, we'll do that. And when we set our budget in July, we'll circle the wagons again and see where we're at with that. And not worry about touching our other budgets at this point. We'll see where we end up. Because I know like the parks one, we had really it's the bottom line that really requires us to move funds from one, to make a motion or whatever, funds from one thing to the other. We haven't used all of our operational dollars in parks. We put extra money in there to replace swing sets and stuff like that. So we could probably get by with that. Cemeteries, questionable, maybe we'll have to look at that one as far as make sure we have enough money there. But in our mowing, that comes out of Marty's budget. His budget's going to be all haywire with we're paying the tear downs out of his budget and getting reimbursed. So we're gonna have to do some adjustment stuff there anyway. So I figure we can pretty much lose all that stuff in the wash when it comes to the budget adjustments. So
If there's any saving grace, all of our contractors this year are mowing for less than they did last year. So
Right.
That helps us some.
So at this point, I think everything's safe for the time being.
And honestly, I thought it was a good idea divvying it out to 3 different so that
It wasn't
one is
so much.
overwhelmed with
Right.
one.
Correct.
So I was hoping they'd be able to keep up with.
So Nate, are you looking for a motion on this?
I think just give us a motion that you want to see it for 1 week when the mowing season dictates it, and we'll adjust the budget as necessary.
I'll move to approve mowing for once a week until the dry season.
As dictated by the
as
weather, I
dictated by
guess.
the weather.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Discussion?
I just want that to be referred to as a directive from council in the minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, do you want to do the city manager's
I think
update?
that'd be best. Then we
Okay.
can do let everybody else go home.
Go.
Yeah. I'm gonna be a little scattered here. We're gonna hire a couple of temp employees, street department, let you know that that's gonna be advertised. We're gonna buy, I think, 14 Weston banners for beautification.
Do we need-
14 or 7.
Do
My
we need to
preference is
approve
14.
that?
Temp hiring? No, it's in
To
the budget.
amend
It's in
the,
the
huh?
budget. It's in
the
the
Oh,
budget,
okay,
yeah.
good. Thank you.
I think we're fine. Just letting you know, that's what we're
Okay.
moving towards that direction. 14 is my preference. Do we think we need less?
You all.
7 on each side?
We had
Oh.
14 Christmas and.
14 Christmas banners,
Yeah, we had
yeah.
14 Christmas banners.
And how much are they?
$42 each.
Remember you gave me my budget today
Yeah.
and I need more flowers.
Tell me how many banners we can afford. I don't know.
I don't know.
42 times 14 is $588. That makes sense.
No, I suppose, guys.
Gee, I thought railing should have came out of beautification.
I think that's a good deal because
Yeah.
normally they're 90-some bucks. Have been in the past.
Is our numbers right? Like, are we
What are they?
confident in it?
I don't know.
What do they look like?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Nate and I discussed, maybe one of them, we just put the Weston and then the emblem.
What happened to the ones that you got?
One
You
that
wish
we
it?
bought,
Yeah.
too small for.
Oh,
ours.
yeah.
Could you put those on the light poles? The 4 light poles, can you put a little bracket on those and hang them on that?
Ooh, DOH are probably
Yeah.
like the traffic light poles.
No,
We'll
no, I'm
look
talking
into
about
it.
our decorative lights.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm with you on it.
Okay.
See, go to waste.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's flowers that go on there too.
These would be over to the
Okay.
flowers hanging to this
We'll
side.
see if we can find them, stick them somewhere, Mike. We should hang them up.
You're probably thinking, boy, Debbie, I like to stick them somewhere.
Okay, what's next on your list?
So we're gonna do that and we'll put those downtown. for the summer is our feeling. I did talk to you a little bit about the budget. So right now, we're general fund is over $700,000. And we had budgeted 500. So I want to talk to you just to give you a heads up. I think we're going to have enough when we left the paving discussion that we said if we had enough carryover, we would put that towards paving. So I think if our numbers hold true in our estimates and asphalt doesn't go out of this world, we should have enough to cover our paving list is my hope.
All of it.
Yeah. And so that's why I said, let's pump the brakes on the ARPA discussion for.
Don't hold back on the cheering.
Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting till it's
Yeah,
finalized.
please do. But I think
There'll be another slip somewhere or
Yeah.
something.
I know.
so.
I think we should be enough there. And, I said paving would have number one priority and it's a strong 1A. I think there's a couple things there we'll adjust that they're not major, but there's a couple other things we'll try to slide into the budget as well. And we'll get to those when we get to the budget. We still do it. But I want to talk to you also about, I had a discussion with the ADA office about this building and being able to use it for meetings moving forward. And so my desire is not have to pack up and go to the county commission and have our meetings. I'd like to have it at this building if all possible. And I know that sometimes meeting attendance may dictate that we need to be in a bigger facility, and I'm fine with that. I think for generally, we've got enough room in our.
When we do proclamations.
Yeah, that's about it. We raise rates.
Yeah, that one may need a couple meetings, but I just want to make sure everybody's okay with it. What we'd use my office upstairs. I'm going to move out of there, and that would be our meeting space up there. And we would make some modifications to the buildings. And this isn't you're giving me the okay, and I'm going to do it tomorrow kind of stuff. But you will probably put up a couple walls downstairs here on the police side to make that maybe our payment center where people come in and make payments there and provide a little bit more security where there's a locked door they can't get through to the building and get to everybody and all that kind of stuff. And then upstairs, when you first come off the stairs there where Julie's sitting, I think we try to make that an office space of some sort, a little bit more divided up a little bit better. And then use my office as the meeting room moving forward. I'm not kicking Susie out the door, but I think when she leaves, I'll move in there and that'll give us space to have a room. Now, the caveat with the access with ADA was that we've got to make our meetings accessible. And so my conversation with the state ADA director was if we have a computer screen and they can interact with us and the meetings are accessible, that counts as we've provided access to the meeting. People, as long as they can interact. And technically, I think you've got to sign up for 5 minutes. We can make that part of our policy. If you're going to come on a Zoom meeting, you've got to sign up 5 minutes before like everybody else does. And you get to, we'll unmute you during that portion of the meeting and you'll get to say your piece and then we'll mute you again. Right. And we're back to our regular meeting like we always have been. So that's my hope and feelings. I just wanted to get your guys' feedback on it and make sure you're okay with that direction.
Because we are an historical building, we really don't have to make alterations unless we want to have a meeting here.
Well, I don't even, that's what I said with our computer screen, with everything being on Zoom and being accessible that way, we don't even really have to make alterations to the building. We just have to have, the process has to be accessible. People have to be able to participate. And, even if you make your building accessible, you're not making it accessible for the deaf or the hard of hearing, or the people who need some kind of computer caption system like that, right? Or our Zoom system would allow us to do that as well, more so than just making it really accessible for those folks. So it's a commitment, I guess, more to technology and this not being something we've just done and it's nice to have, right? It's going to be something we'll need to have if we want to continue if we want to have our meetings in this building.
I'm okay with that. Okay. The meetings are. It is a pretty grand room where we have them now, but I do understand packing everything up.
Well, and this is the center of Weston's government. Yeah, I think it's important to have your government meet in your government office in some capacity.
I understand that.
Yeah.
It would be neat, have one outside. That'd be really neat.
We've got a trailer down the street, Brian. We'll throw you guys up on the trailer. But
The hub.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
all right, I'm just working towards that. And so part of that budget conversation, we may have to put some monies in to modify the building, for office space and stuff like that. So that's something I want to bring to your attention. The The mayor and I sat down and did a little bit of an ARPA outline today. I wanted to bring that up. We're running into this steamroller of when the sanitary board or sanitary operations, whatever we'll call them, need funding from the state. The reflex has been, what is the status of your ARPA monies? Have you allocated your ARPA monies? And I
If
think,
I can interject, it
Please
came
do.
up once again, and
Yeah.
that's the reason for my comment at the regular session. For critical needs funding with all the issues with pump 7 and the notice of violations. Sanitary board has received 2 of those recently. And it's looking like there's a pile of money that's going to be needed in order to take the corrective action. So they keep constantly asking how much ARPA dollars can you invest into it? And I'll let you finish. I just
Well,
wanted to
Do
state
they
that.
realize how much ARPA money that we've given?
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
If
But-
you've got $1 left, we want it.
But that's not the sanitary board saying it. That's
No, I realize
Yeah.
that's who it is. Yes,
some other people.
yes.
and so I think in this case, it's kind of better to not have $1 left, right? And say we've allocated this money and it's not available to be spent.
That was my thought all along.
Yeah. And the question is what we allocate it to, right? Debbie?
Oh,
Right. So I've got a list. I want to shoot that to you all, let you take a look at that. I should have brought it in
Lighting.
and discussed it, but here's what paving's not really on the list on this additional.
No,
No.
take that. You're getting extra money,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Pull those horns in.
With this hubcap stuff we've been doing and things of that nature, I think I don't know if it's divine intervention or what it is, but it seems like placemaking and beautification have continued to rise to the top of, like, if you want to have a livable place, you've got to concentrate on those things and you've got to make headways there. And it doesn't have to be $1 million project. It can be small wins. But I think we all know we've got some real expenses that we'd like to see done with Main Street, getting rid of electric lines, the parking lot on Water Street. I sit there and say, well, if we're going to invest $10,000 in the pavement, why not put another $10,000 in it and fix your curbing and stuff like that, or maybe more. We'll see. But I think that those are the things that, from our list, we ended up with 200 grand towards streetscape beautification. Kind of earmarking. We had 100,000 for. There's 634,000 left in ARPA. We had 100,000 towards the sanitary board sludge project that we needed for our match. What else do we have? We had 50,000 for the facade grant.
Yeah.
We carved that out. What we got, Debbie?
I was gonna
Railing,
say,
50,000, yeah.
keep that thought process for that TA grant too, because a lot of this you may be able to tie in.
And
When we start and
Yeah.
can't finish,
right. We've done
because
this.
what I notice a lot of for that is streetscape projects.
Yep. And I just want to be here to see it. And
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing with TA is
Yeah.
we can get in the pipeline and 5 years later from now, we'll.
Yeah,
get a
but I'm
project
saying
going.
just
Yeah. Agreed,
keep that
agreed.
thought
Curb
going.
painting.
We want, paint machine, we want to put $10,000 in there for a paint machine for painting our curbs and lines and crosswalks and stuff like that. What else do we have in there?
Jackhammer.
No, we didn't have that. We didn't talk about that. I didn't mention that too. What else to have in
What
there?
about any lighting? Did you put any lighting?
Like street lighting?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
$200,000 for
Okay,
streetscape
okay.
and beautification.
Yeah.
And I've been working with a contact on who supplied our lights before, so I've got some quotations on that, so we can look at, we've got, 4 spots in front of the courthouse that we've got the conduit in the ground for. We've got 4 spots on Main Street.
We got four, and then we got across the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next electric and everything.
So I think we've got ample opportunities to do that kind of stuff. So we'll just use that. I mean, I'm kind of earmarking that money and says, this is what we're going to use it for. Doesn't mean we've set the projects in stone, but it does say that that money's been allocated for that. There was some other stuff there.
It's time to
Well, we're a
allocate it
little
anyway.
specific on the $200,000 that you put in, and we knew that 2 of the things were the Riverfront
Yeah.
Park Development Project. We do have a conceptual drawing, but I think, I'm positive that council wasn't 100% happy with where the play area was located, the activity space out next to the road. So there would be some alterations there. So
Plus our intersection here with Department of Highways, we don't.
that
think
was the
that's gonna
other
look
part
like-
of it.
We
We
want to build.
need to talk to DOH and see how much they're willing to work with us on changing that intersection. And we think that we're gonna have some cost in there because it is on city property
Yeah.
and the city street. So that's why 200,000.
And I think these are just allocated, right? It's, we're kind of doing a budget game here to say, this is what our priorities are. So we can send it to the DEP and say, listen, we've allocated this money. This is what, we don't have any more money allocated for those projects. And I think we can modify that a little bit down the road within reason. Debbie?
But hopefully you'll send that list out.
I'll send that to council, yeah.
Then if you guys have additional things that we need to keep in mind,
I was just thinking if we could get the river bikes clean for your kayak thing, I mean, they're a mess down.
Who were we talking? You were talking to Moran's?
Mess, they're a mess.
Yeah.
They're a mess through there.
What,
And I
what
didn't have
thought
friends at the West Fork.
we're going to spend city dollars on, we're gonna see what we had, and do it one time, see if we get Moran's to come in for Ventrac and just mow down the banks before the car
Yeah.
fest and clean up one time this year. And then
Yeah.
next year.
Maybe get rid of some small trees.
I know where we can rent goats and fence.
Okay,
Um,
all right. What else did we say? Something else popped up there? What did- No, not that.
jackhammer, he said.
Oh, jackhammer, okay. So I've given the tactic approval, and I just want to bring you guys into the loop. Say, we need a jackhammer within the city services realm. And so sanitary board employees and Mike, I think, went down to Charleston to look for a jackhammer.
No, what Charles went down to Texas Mill, or Jane.
Okay, they got a price
Oh,
on
good.
a
Sauce.
jackhammer for $9,100 roughly thereabouts. And my thought is that I'll have to get approval from council, and it's not on the agenda, but we split that between three services: streets, which would be general fund, stormwater, because we'd use that for doing stormwater work. Streets would be the sidewalks, busting up sidewalks, replace them or whatnot. And then sewer would split a third of the cost with this as well. Which,
We do have a jackhammer, but but it's a handheld jackhammer, and we'll believe you me.
yeah, it'll work you over.
It'll work you. Just letting you know.
I don't know if I could give that approval because all the different funds and transfers and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I think you guys would be okay with it.
Just to be safe.
Yeah. We'll
You
put that
might
on
wanna
future
run it
agenda to
through
approve.
Timeline for the CPF funding,
CPF.
CPF,
Riverfront.
what we did the narrative for today, and authorizing you to sign on behalf of
Oh.
the city for that grant. fund.
Yeah, are you guys fine with me? I want to put it in the minutes, but it's not on the agenda, I guess, but are you guys okay with me signing the grant agreement with the Riverfront for $850,000, getting that process rolling? Yeah, we have to follow what we've already submitted for earmark. And so we'll sign the agreement, write our narrative, provide the revised budget, which is still going to be $850,000, and then submit that to them to get the ball rolling. They,
Our portion of it is 350,000.
no, we don't, it's 850 is the grant.
Ours is
Grant.
none.
Yeah.
That's what I
At
thought.
Yeah.
this point. So we
Okay.
just want to get the grant agreement authorized so that we can move forward to get that submitted. They'll review it. If they don't like it, they'll come back to us with comments before they ever sign the agreement. That's how the process is going to work.
So is
With
that
the-
initial phase one that you showed us is what this is about?
It's the riverfront, yeah, whatever it ends up being, what can we afford and, what needs to be
It's
done.
what is on that conceptual
Yeah.
drawing with some
That's what I
change in
thought.
space
Check
Yeah.
for the activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Did you have
that's
any
it.
electrical outlets put in?
On
The
the,
streetscape, did you think of any electrical?
yeah, he was quoting me some of those prices. We
It
went-
just helps when there's festivals.
Yep. Christmas lights, anything like that, right? Yep. So I think that's all I have at this point. City manager update. Any other questions? If not, I'll
Are you
Okay.
comfortable with making a motion to allow Nate to serve as our authorized signature for the CPF funding?
Yes, funding Riverfront
Yeah.
grant. Yes, I'll move to approve that.
Thank
Second.
you.
Thank
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen. Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yeah.
Councilman Herb Curtis. Councilman
I don't
Herb
think he's with
Curtis.
us anymore, is he?
Fell right off that bar stool.
I vote yes, motion carries.
Okay.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss personnel.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks for being here,
You
Ryan.
guys are welcome.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
you. Thanks for
Okay.
coming. Bye.
Did you think any more about the little Mr. Fireman and little Miss Klein?
I have not. I finally got all the things and stuff situated around and handle that.
Okay, because yeah, that's your moneymaker right there.
I'll get a hold of you about that.
And sponsorships.
Yes.
We need sponsorships.
Please.
Thank you.
Hey, Marty.
Session.
I move to executive session.
Debbie?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.